In 1980, for a French businessman acquired a struggling textile company called Boussac Saint Frères. Buried inside that textile company, almost as an afterthought in the asset list, was a small fashion house that had been founded in Paris in 1946. Its name was Christian Dior. The businessman's name was Bernard Arnault. He was 35 years old, and he had just made the acquisition that would eventually make him the richest person on earth. Most people think the story of LVMH is a story about fashion, about taste, about the French art of luxury. It is not. It is one of the most sophisticated financial engineering operations ever constructed. Fashion is simply the most beautiful packaging it has ever been wrapped in. Today on Wealth Map, we are mapping the LVMH empire. How? Bernard Arnault built a collection of the world's most coveted brands into a $400 billion machine, and the specific principles behind a business model that operates by rules almost no other industry on earth follows. Here is the first thing you need to understand about the luxury business model, because it breaks almost every rule of conventional economics. In most industries, when you raise your prices, demand falls, consumers find alternatives, market share erodes. This is the fundamental relationship between price and demand that underpins virtually all of commercial life. Luxury does not work this way. In luxury, raising prices frequently increases demand. A Hermes Birkin bag that costs $30,000 is more desirable, not less, than one that costs $3,000. A Louis Vuitton trunk that requires a waiting list is more coveted than one available immediately. The price itself is part of the product. The exclusivity is not a side effect of the business model. It is the business model. Arnault understood this principle at a depth that most business strategists never reach, and he built an entire empire around exploiting it with extraordinary precision. But understanding the pricing model is only the beginning, because the more important question is, where does the desirability come from in the first place? This is where Arnault's acquisition strategy reveals its true genius. Desirability in luxury cannot be manufactured quickly. You cannot spend your way to a century of heritage. You cannot advertise your way to the kind of cultural meaning that makes a woman in Tokyo or Lagos or Sao Paulo willing to save for 2 years to own a specific bag. That kind of desirability takes generations to build. It requires history, craft, association with specific moments in cultural memory, the kind of authenticity that only time can create. Arnault recognized something that most business builders miss entirely. The most valuable raw material in luxury is not leather or gold or silk. It is irreplaceable heritage. And irreplaceable heritage can only be acquired, never created. So instead of building new luxury brands from scratch, Arnault spent for decades systematically acquiring brands that already possessed what could never be manufactured. Louis Vuitton, founded 1854. Moët and Chandon, founded 1743. Hennessy, founded 1765. Bulgari, founded 1884. Tag Heuer, founded 1860. Tiffany Co, founded 1837. Each acquisition brought not just a brand name but centuries of cultural meaning, the kind of meaning that makes a product feel inevitable rather than marketed. LVMH today owns over 75 brands across fashion, leather goods, wines and spirits, perfumes, cosmetics, watches, and jewelry. Every single one of them carrying heritage that Arnault could not have built in a single lifetime. He did not need to build it. He bought it, and then he made it more expensive. Now here is the mechanism that transforms heritage into a compounding financial machine. Scarcity. LVMH's most valuable brands do not simply produce less than competitors. They deliberately produce less than their own demand. Hermes, in which LVMH holds a significant stake, maintains waiting list for its most coveted pieces that stretch for years. Not because production is technically impossible, because the waiting list is the product. When demand exceeds supply, the price is no longer set by the market. It is set by the seller, entirely, without negotiation, without comparison shopping, without competitive pressure of any kind. A Hermes Birkin does not have a competitor, not because nobody has tried to create one, because the heritage, the waiting list, the cultural meaning, and the deliberate scarcity combine to create something that no amount of capital can replicate on a reasonable timeline. This is the moat that Arnault has built around every one of his most valuable assets. Not technology, not patents, not regulatory protection. Cultural irreplaceability enforced by deliberate scarcity. No other industry on earth has successfully deployed this model at anything close to this scale. But the deepest layer of the LVMH story is financial, not cultural. LVMH generates extraordinary amounts of cash. Margins in luxury leather goods consistently exceed 30%. Wines and spirits run above 25%. Perfumes and cosmetics above 20%. In an era when most consumer goods companies fight for single-digit margins, LVMH operates in a different financial universe entirely. That cash does not sit idle. It funds acquisitions, which generate more cash, which fund more acquisitions. Arnault has structured LVMH to function less like a fashion conglomerate and more like a sovereign wealth fund that happens to sell handbags. The assets compound, the brands appreciate, the cultural moats deepen with every passing decade. Between 2009 and 2023, LVMH's share price increased by over 1,000%. Not because fashion trends were favorable, because the compounding machine Arnault built operates largely independently of economic cycles. In a recession, people stop buying cars before they stop aspiring to own a Vuitton bag. The aspiration itself is recession-resistant. The brand is the investment thesis. The LVMH story teaches a lesson that applies far beyond fashion. The most durable competitive advantages in business are not technological. They are not regulatory. They are cultural. They are the kind of meaning, heritage, and irreplaceability that money alone cannot manufacture. But money, applied with extraordinary patience and precision, can acquire. Bernard Arnault did not invent luxury. He simply understood it more precisely than anyone before him, and built a machine to compound it indefinitely. What he built is not just the world's most valuable luxury empire. It is a masterclass in identifying assets that appreciate simply by existing and owning as many of them as possible. This is Wealth Map, where the architecture behind the world's greatest empires becomes visible. Subscribe, because the next map reveals a financial system that affects every country on Earth, including yours, and almost nobody understands how it actually works.